to really get this. But I also want to talk about a couple facts here. Facts. So when we heard from this neighborhood that there was a letter that went to DOT in 2014-15 that said, go ahead, run them down Van Dam. Well, under our charter, and Tony can tell you, the only person that's supposed to be doing that is the mayor sends that letter after getting authorization from the city council. So we looked at all the entire 2015 agendas. Never once was a motion approved for that letter to be sent. Never once was that ever approved by the then city council. And by the way, you can ask the mayor here at that time was Joan Yepsen. And I think she'll verify the facts here too. So essentially what happened was a city council member acted on their own to say, that's the truck route, let's do it. And that's why this, and so when I heard this, I was a little astonished that this could have even happened, but in fact, it did. So now we're trying to find through Kerry Warner's the actual letter because we want to propose a resolution at our next city council to essentially declare, rescind the letter, make sure it's very clear to the Department of State and the Department of Transportation that this was not an action by any city council that was in fact legal. And of course, you know the next part is in that same administration, they got rid of the truck traffic safety unit that was specially trained to look at these trucks. And I get it, you don't want to harass them too much, but I remember Sergeant Mitchell coming to me and saying, you know, Commissioner, when we set up our way stations out at Skidmore, you can hear on the CB radios, don't go through Saratoga. Don't stay on the thruway or stay on the Northway because they're going to get checked anyways at Clifton Park. So we gave that up. We gave that up. We had that unit to do that work. The equipment is all, we don't even have officers trained to do this now. We would have to get that all set up. But unfortunately, city officials at the time didn't care enough about our neighborhood. But I think we can get this back, but you got to keep pressure on our city officials. I know these people want to do something about it, but you got a new administration coming in. So, but we are having biochar here at the next city council meeting. They're going to talk about the implications of that plant opening up. And by the way, it is approved. There's still, it's my understanding, still going through the DEC and the EPA approvals, et cetera, and they're hoping to stop it, but those are trucks full of solid waste. And guess where they're coming through, folks? So, any other comments here?
The only other thing I would say is, I don't have a problem supporting this resolution. I think it's really difficult. I think we need to have that action plan, and someone on this council has to own it. I think if we do this without an action plan, it'll just be like the parking conversation we had 2 months ago, where a different group of residents come back and say, now it's on our street, and there's no solution.
Well, Commissioner, here's what my suggestion would be, is there are lots of people here with some expertise. They've come up. We've had some traffic people up here. We've had some planners here. You know, once again, we should draw from our community. And I would suggest that at our next city council meeting, and I'll offer also the incoming mayor and the incoming commissioner of public safety to name a task force that looks at this, because we can't wait. We can't wait to do this. We need that to happen, and I think acting soon is the best way to address this. So that would be my suggestion. And they'd have a specific charge. We have some great expertise here, and you know we talked earlier in the evening about the great results of the infrastructure committee. That was volunteers who brought their expertise to it. We can do it. I think it's something we can do here because this is getting worse, and we've heard it. So that would be my suggestion.
I think, and I was trying to get this information earlier, were there any public hearings that had happened before this letter was sent out?
So we researched agendas from October 14th through April of 2015. And there was no vote requesting the DOT change the truck route. There was, but we know through the good work of Nick and some of his neighbors that the letter was sent. We don't have a copy of the letter, but we know the letter was sent by the Commissioner Chris Mathieson on. We even have the date, I think. In 2014, a letter dated November 18th, 2014, requested the westbound truck route 29 to utilize West Avenue, Route 9, and Van Dam Street. So we've asked DOT to provide us with that letter, and we're hoping that they can get it to us in a timely manner. They're FOIable, but FOIL takes a while, so we're hoping that they'll get it to find it.
So the next thing I had, and again, I agree that the way this was done and how it is done is unfair to the residents of Van Dam. I think all of us out here understand and agree with that. However, are we just pushing this problem off to another street? What happens if we okay this? What are the next steps? I would like to get a better answer from public safety or the mayor's office to understand, if we do this today, what happens to those trucks? Are they just not going to come to Saratoga Springs, or are they going to go to other streets? Because we know Washington is closed right now, right? So what streets are they going to go to, and what happens if this passes? I think that's a fair question that we need to know before we actually vote on this.
To me, though, if something was done illegally, the city council is duly bound to correct that illegality. I agree with you. The squeezing of the balloon is a problem, but the fact that this never was, legal, we can't ignore that.
I'm not trying to ignore it. I'm trying to understand what happens after this. That's not the same as I'm opposed to this. I'm in support of this. I am trying to understand, as every rational person here who's sitting on the city council should be, is what happens next?
The trucks coming in on the arterial will take a left onto Broadway and then take a right onto Church Street. That's what will happen. Which are the state routes. So that's
Okay.
the logical outcome.
I just wanted to.
Exactly. Yep.
I just
And we
wanted
have
to
an
make sure that
understanding
we
too.
knew that.
Yeah. And then we also have an understanding. I have emails from the Department of Transportation that say as soon as these state routes hit our historic district, we have primacy in terms of who gets to decide what. So the notion that we can't make statements or take control over our own situation is factually incorrect. And we really, to everyone's point, we need to have. I'm very concerned because we passed this, and I've spoke with Ms. Maciel. What happens next is a great question because we don't have scales. We don't have people who are trained. Right. The people who used to get pulled over on Van Dam got pulled over into an empty lot there's a building on now. And you talk about danger. Well, I think about the men and women we'll be asking to pull these trucks over. That's dangerous. And
Yes.
so
You should talk to Sergeant Mullen.
I've talked to Sergeant Mullen quite a bit. I talk to him all the time. Yeah. So listen, I'm on board. I don't like platitudes. I'm not here to pass things to make people feel good. I'm here to actually make things work, fix things, right?
If I may respond to Commissioner Sangvi's observation, which I greatly appreciate, and I just offer as a parallel, when we had the issue of the stop signs on Grand Avenue, and the question of do we start the traffic study now and wait and kick the can down the road, or do we put the stop signs in and see how it works and do the study? And we chose the latter course. And I think you would agree. I mean, I know I've had not one complaint from anybody about the stop signs on Grand Avenue. And to the contrary, a lot of people have contacted the office and said, thank God, it was, so long in coming, it's a blessing, etc. And I think that maybe what we should do tonight is pass the ordinance and see how it goes.
Look,
Again,
the-
Commissioner Montanino, Mayor Kim, let me please. Commissioner Montanino, I agree with you. And again, like I said, I am in support. Like, listen, I have a 9-year-old, by the way, whose birthday it is today. And I understand waiting out there on the street and seeing cars speed by because we live off of Grand. And so we had a similar problem. I mean, Roman and JB went to school together. So, I understand these are all people that I know and we're a small community. So the point is, I'm in favor of this. This was done incorrectly, illegally, however you want to say it. We need to fix this. But I also wanted to understand that we were not pushing this problem to another road and that we had at least an understanding of what happened next. That's where I was going.
I agree. And if I could just add that I've spoken with Chief McIntosh about the staffing plan for next year. And when we have the most recent group of recruits come out of field training, we will have the staffing to resuscitate the traffic division. So it's on paper, it's in the plan, and it's expected to happen.